Hey everyone, it's Stephanie here, and today I have a video to share this card that I've created using a fishbowl die and hair gel. I was kind of playing around with different things last weekend, and I stumbled across an idea to use hair gel in place of like shaker material and kind of the same idea as a shaker card to mimic the look of water. And I thought it was really fun, and I decided to give it a try. And I shared it on Instagram, and a lot of people were asking how to create the card. So I wanted to create a video and create a second card to show you how I went about putting the hair gel in the card and sealing it up to make sure it stays in there. I don't know if I would necessarily mail this card just because I'd be a little bit worried that the hair gel area would break open in the mail, but it's definitely a fun card for someone you're going to hand deliver it to, or for even a kid maybe. It's just really fun and really gives the look of water. So to make my card, I just went ahead and die cut all my pieces ahead of time. So I'm using the Fishbowl Dynamics from My Favorite Things, and I went ahead and cut that out of a white cardstock panel that's going to be on the front of the card, and I also cut it out of the actual card base so that when you put the card together, you can see right through the fishbowl to the inside of the card. And I also cut out all the pieces to put on the fishbowl on the inside. I'm going to be using this Hooked on You W+9 stamp set to stamp my fish. So I'm going to go ahead and do this part first, just because I need to do the stamping and color in my fish so that they're ready to put on the fishbowl on the inside of the card. So I'm just using Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp these fish, and that's just because I'm going to be coloring them with Copic markers, and you want to make sure you use an ink that's compatible with Copics when you are coloring with them. So I went ahead and stamped two fish, and I like that in this stamp set there is two identical fish that face each other. I love when stamp companies think to do the same stamp both ways so that you can have them facing each other or have them kind of interact on the card. I just love that you get the options of both of them, and I like having the two fish kind of swimming towards each other in the fishbowl. So I decided to stamp two of them. And I'm just going ahead and coloring them in with some vibrant colors. I chose some pinks for the first fish, and then I'm using some orange colors for the second fish. And I'm just kind of coloring with my lightest color first all over the entire fish. And then I went around with the medium and the darkest color and just kind of added some darker detail around the edges of the fish's body. And now that I have those colored, I'm going to go ahead and start to put the card together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the two fish bowls that I cut out of gray cardstock, and I'm going to go ahead and adhere that on the inside of the card. And this just makes it so that when you open up the card, it doesn't have just a rough edge on the inside. It makes it look more finished. You can definitely skip this if you don't care what the inside looks like. I just thought it made it look like a complete fish bowl because you can see the outside of the fish bowl on both the front and inside of the card. And now I'm going to go ahead and adhere that other fishbowl to the white panel. And the reason we're using this panel is because we want to adhere this to the front of the card with foam adhesive when we're ready to put it on. And it would be too hard to put foam adhesive just around that fishbowl. So this white cardstock panel kind of gives it an anchor so that we have something to adhere the foam adhesive to. So now I have all the parts ready. It's time to go ahead and actually create the gel part. The original card that I made, I had a smaller size Ziploc bag to create that card. So I didn't have to do any cutting or anything to the bag. I simply sealed the top where the Ziploc is and just added some tape for some extra seal on it. But for this one here, I didn't have the exact sized bag, so I'm just going to kind of show what I did for this one. So I just have some standard, regular dollar store hair gel that I found in a cupboard in my bathroom, and I'm just going ahead and putting this inside this little bag. And you just kind of want to experiment with how much you want to put in. The more you put in, the thicker it's going to be, and I don't recommend making it too super thick just because it is still a card and it's going to be a little bit more cumbersome to try and adhere that panel onto the card if you have a lot of hair gel in there. So I went ahead, put a bunch in there, and now I'm just going ahead with my fingers and kind of moving it around and pushing all of the air bubbles to the top. You're going to end up with bubbles no matter what, but I like the smaller ones. I think it gives that even more realistic water look. But sometimes when you put the gel in, you get really big air bubbles that you kind of want to push out before you do any of the adhering onto the card. So once you have all the gel inside the bag and you're happy with the thickness and you made sure all your air bubbles are out, it's time to seal up the bag so that we can use it on our card design. So for this one here, it's a little bit too long, like I said. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the top off, which is going to take away the Ziploc part. But I'm just going to use tape to seal this, and it worked fine. I probably wouldn't do this for a card that I was going to give to somebody, but for the purposes of sharing how to create the card, I figured this would work fine. So I'm just using scotch tape and adhering it to the top of the bag, and then I just flipped it over and folded the tape over top. and I'm just really pressing firmly with my fingertips to make sure that that tape is fully adhered. And then I'm going to snip the ends off that I have extra there. I'm going to leave a little bit just because I want to make sure that I have it completely sealed, and I thought that keeping the little ends there would help to seal the corner areas. And now I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the card panel. So I just added adhesive all the way around the fishbowl edge, and then I just laid the gel bag on the top so that it's centered, so that all the edges completely go over the fishbowl. And I'm just using my fingers to firmly press this onto the adhesive. And as you press down the edges of the gel-filled bag, it's going to kind of push all that gel into the center area where the fishbowl is. And then when I add the foam adhesive, which I'm going to do here, it's going to further press that gel into the center area and kind of flatten around the edges, which is what you want. And by using the foam adhesive, it just allows you room for the gel that's in that bag since it's not completely flat. So it's perfect. And as you can see, I used a lot of foam adhesive, and I definitely recommend that just because the gel is kind of heavy, and having more foam adhesive just really makes sure that everything is reinforced underneath of there and that panel is not going to sag or anything. And then now you can see I have that panel adhered to the front of the card, and I just lined it up directly on top of the fishbowl opening that we die cut in the card front to make sure that both of the fishbowl in both the panel and the card front lined up, and then I just adhered it down. So now it's time to do the inside piece, which is what we're going to see through the hair gel. So I cut out a third fishbowl, and I just kept that a solid fishbowl. I didn't put a hole in the inside. And I'm just using the pieces that come with this dynamic set and cutting out the water and the gravel or sand, whatever, at the bottom, and then also the grass pieces. So I'm just going ahead and using some liquid adhesive and adhering all of these onto the inside of the fishbowl area. And I'm just kind of cutting some of the grass to make it shorter and keeping some of it longer, just kind of positioning it so it fills up that area. And then I'm adding both of the fish that I had cut out and colored, and I just kind of adhered them so it looks like they were swimming towards each other. And then to make sure that this fishbowl is lined up on the inside, I just added adhesive to the back and then laid it on top of the fishbowl on the inside and closed the card so that the back of the card would grab onto that adhesive. And now you have a great little fishbowl card with the realistic look of water created with hair gel. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.